Hi guys, and welcome back to the Coffee Enema series. This is one video amongst 4 videos all about coffee enemas. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about my experience doing coffee enemas and why I ultimately decided to stop doing them, because I had something come up, medically speaking, that made me think, ooh, these are not something I'm going to continue to do. So more on that later. But first, I'm going to rewind the clock a little bit. Let's go back in time about 8 months. So around September of 2020, I actually started planning this video series, and I decided that there was a particular way that I wanted to talk about coffee enemas. And if any of you guys have been following me for a while, or if you've worked with me as a patient, you know that I try to be my own guinea pig, and I try to learn from firsthand experience whenever I can, whenever it's appropriate and safe, because then I am better able to coach you guys and my patients and really understand everything inside and out. So before I started recommending fasting to my patients, I started doing fasting. And before I started really getting into coffee enemas, I started collecting data and trying to understand this. And yes, I ultimately did some coffee enemas myself, which is the topic of this video. But to go back in time, one of the big claims about coffee enemas is that it stimulates your vagus nerve, the rest and digest part of your nervous system. And I was really intrigued by that premise. I thought, wow, that's cool. I wonder if it's true, and I wonder to what extent. Because let's face it, not everybody wants to do coffee enemas. Like, it's just not a super appealing thing to many people. So I thought, all right, well, how do I try to understand this? I wish that there was a non-invasive way that I could try to assess the function and the tone of the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. And in comes the Oura ring. So this big clunky ring here on my pointer finger, I have been wearing this since about September. And it is a ring that tracks sleep data as well as something called heart rate variability. Now, that's not the topic for this video, but just know that high HRV is good, low is typically bad. High HRV is associated with protection against a myriad of conditions, including cancer, believe it or not. And low HRV is associated with the development of those diseases and conditions. And tracking it can be a really useful tool in your healing journey if you are concerned with HRV and your stress management and your sleep, and I found it to be really beneficial. But the idea that we can assess the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system via the heart rate variability that is measured by this ring was really intriguing to me. So what I did was I got an Oura ring, and starting in September of last year, I started wearing it every day and just tracking my data and seeing, all right, where's my baseline? That's all I've been doing for the last couple months. I've been wearing it so that I have a baseline so that I can show you on the graphs what did and did not happen. My hypothesis going into this, my hope going into this, was that I would have really compelling data to show you that, oh, my Oura ring data improved dramatically, and like my HRV shot right up when I did the coffee enemas. And sadly, that was not the case. Let me go ahead and I'll share my screen and I will show you more about what I'm talking about here. So this is the login for my Oura ring. And again, you can see I've been wearing it since September. There's been a handful of nights where I didn't charge the ring and it didn't collect data, but you can still see quite a lot of information this way. And you can see that there's a lot of variability, both in deep sleep, which I need work on, and also, let's see where to go, and also in my heart rate variability. You can see that there's a lot of highs and lows. Everything from, gosh, like this day, I went all the way down to 20 versus the all-time high, it looks like, was 38 one day in September. But you can see even within the span of a couple of days or a couple of weeks, we can get really quite different results. And my average over this time period has been 26 ms for the heart rate variability across time. Now, if I was to ask you, at what point in this graph did I do coffee enemas? You could make some guesses. And if you were optimistic and really pro coffee enemas, you could say, these 3 peaks right here must have been the day you did coffee enemas. Not so much. Let me narrow the graph a bit and I'll show you where I actually ended up doing these coffee enemas. And we'll get a little bit of historical data going back as well. So let's see. I did coffee enemas for this series. Hold on. I started them on March 2nd and then went through until the 6th. I tried to be an overachiever for you guys. I really did. I was trying to do 30 coffee enemas in 30 days. So I actually started them on March 2nd, and I did another one on the 3rd and another one on the 4th. And then I took 2 days off and subsequently didn't charge my Oura Ring. And then I did one more on Saturday, March 6th. So I did 4 coffee enemas in total over the span of about a week. And you can see, you know, if you were to zoom in, like if I just started wearing my Oura Ring on the 2nd of March, I would see that upward trend and I'd be like, yeah, this is good stuff. But if you look, it's not statistically significant compared to all of the highs and lows that I normally have in my day-to-day life. I mean, especially if you zoom way out and you look at the historical data all the way back through September. I mean, you know, this little zone right here where I was doing coffee enemas, it's just part of the baseline. It really didn't change anything for me for HRV. Now, I don't know, maybe I didn't do them for long enough because like I said, I did have to quit doing them. Maybe I should have given it the full 30 days. Maybe, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe there was a better way to do this, but from my attempt at data collection, it does not look like this influenced my heart rate variability, and therefore I don't know if I believe that it really affected my vagus nerve. Now, all right, let's look at sleep, because another thing that I am trying to work on is my deep sleep. You can see that my average amount of deep sleep is 51 minutes, which is less than I would like it to be. My all-time high, it looks like, was in September, and that was an hour and 32 minutes. Side note, I believe that that was a night that I went camping with my daughter. And I think I remember getting amazing sleep despite being on an air mattress, and I think I got lots of deep sleep, which was cool to see. But you can see that, God, some nights I get, you know, 13 minutes of deep sleep. Holy crap. And I was hoping that the Oura Ring would show me that the coffee enemas also improved my deep sleep. But again, if we zoom in and we look, March 2nd, March 3rd, March 4th, March 6th, really it's all part of the noise. It's not doing anything different than my HRV and my deep sleep tend to do on a day-to-day basis anyway. So as far as my attempt at data collection, very humdrum, very not compelling, and it certainly was not statistically significant. But what I will tell you about my experience doing the enemas otherwise is that they were honestly a lot easier and not that big of a deal than I thought they would be. I pictured in my head that it was going to be so much time and effort and the cleanup was going to suck. I pictured like poo and coffee all over my bathroom and having to like Lysol everything down, and it really was not a big deal at all. Doing the coffee enemas, like comfort-wise and administering them, was not a big deal. The cleanup was super easy. All I had to do was wash out the bucket and the tubing and everything. Like there was no leakage, no poo all over my bathroom. Like it really was not a big deal. And they were quite a bit more comfortable than I thought. I remembered I had gotten a colonic years ago. That's another topic for another day. And I found the colonic to be really uncomfortable. And I remember getting kind of queasy at various points and getting really crampy. But with the coffee enema, I never experienced that. It was very comfortable. It was very easy. And shockingly, it was really easy for me to hold the coffee in for the full 15 minutes, which kind of boggled my mind to a point where I went on the coffee enema support group and I was like, do I need help? Like, is it weird that I can hold the coffee for the full 15 minutes? Because I was led to believe that this would be much more difficult to do. And like I was trying to wrap my head around. I was like, does this mean that my vagus nerve is super healthy or super unhealthy? Right? Like my vagus nerve is so healthy that it's unfazed by coffee enemas, or my vagus nerve is so compromised that it takes that much more stimulation to do anything to it? Like, I don't know. And similarly, does this mean that my colon is super healthy or super unhealthy? So I literally went in the coffee enema support group and I was like, hey guys, like, here's my story. Like I'm doing this so that I can help my patients more thoroughly and I could do a YouTube series on this. And like, this was my experience. It was super easy to hold the coffee. Like, is there something wrong with me? And generally the answer was no, that some people could just hold the coffee for the full amount of time. I'd read a lot of things on the internet saying, now don't freak out if you can only hold the coffee for like a minute or two. That's totally normal. You'll get better at it. It's like exercising a muscle. You'll get better at it the more you do it. And then, so I was anticipating that I would only be able to hold it for like a minute or two. And then I was able to hold for the full 15 right out the get-go. So I was like, is this concerning or great? And the consensus was, no, that probably is not a bad deal. But unfortunately, what I found when I messaged in there was that the coffee enema support group and the clinician group where I posted about this, it wasn't as friendly of a place as I had hoped. Some people were very friendly and they were trying to be helpful, and some people were frankly judgy. Like, for example, I'm going to recall a couple. So in the post that I did, I shared that I'm a clinician. I don't have anything in particular going on. Medically speaking, I'm not trying to treat anything. I'm just doing this so that I can better help my patients and better help my viewers on YouTube. And somebody commented and said, everyone needs to detox. You don't need to have something wrong with you to do this because it's very healthy. Everybody should be doing coffee enemas. And I was like, that's a tough sell. Like, I don't think I'm going to go there with you. And I went home to my husband that night, and I remember telling him, I was like, can you imagine talking to like your dad or your brother and being like, everybody needs to do coffee enemas. Everybody needs to detox. Like, nobody in their right goddamn mind would do that. Let alone, like, it's kind of a tough sell to get my patients with IBS and SIBO to do coffee enemas, and they have something medically that they're trying to treat. Like, I mean, no, I'm not going to go there. I don't think that everybody should do coffee enemas. And then somebody else was just really quite snarky. I pulled up the comment here, actually, because I actually, the first couple times I did it, I held it for 20 minutes because I was like, let's see what I could do. And then after a while, I was just like, I'm bored. I'm done. But I could have held it. I was joking with a friend. I was like, I could have walked around with coffee in my rectum all day and been fine, apparently, because I was unfazed. Somebody actually commented and said, I didn't have to read any more after you said 20 minutes. LOL, you're absorbing all your toxins. Read the files in the group. I was like, people, chill out. Gosh, like, I'm coming here for help. You don't have to be snarky. And there was this theory that if you hold the coffee for longer than 15 minutes, amazingly, like, your body just flips the switch and you start to reabsorb all your toxins, which honestly, I do not believe in any way, shape, or form. I think that is complete and total bullshit. And that should have gone in my bullshit video, but neither here nor there. So some people were helpful, some people were less helpful. But now to the point that I really wanted to share with you why I had to stop doing these coffee enemas and what happened with me personally, medically speaking. It freaked out my hormones. Like I said, I did 4 coffee enemas over the course of about 6 days. And after the 6th day, I started to get mid-cycle spotting, which I have never, ever, 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 ever had in the entire history of my menstruating life. I have never gotten spotting. And it was a few days prior to when I should have ovulated. And I started getting spotting to a point where it was the day I think that I did the last enema, and it freaked me out. I was like, oh God, am I bleeding from my rectum? Oh my God. And I was trying to differentiate, like, all right, is this vaginal bleeding or is this rectal bleeding? And I finally determined, no, this is vaginal, this is spotting. And the spotting persisted for a couple of days, and then it eventually went away, and my cycle was relatively normal after that when I had my next cycle. But I remember being a bit freaked out about that and thinking, oh my God, what did I do to my body? And here's what I ended up wrapping my head around. So one of my very best friends who has had SIBO before, and she still deals with a little bit of gut stuff here or there, but overall she's much better than she was. One of my dear friends has done coffee enemas for years, and she says she will do them forever. She loves them. They make her feel amazing. And she does a coffee enema about once a month just for the sake of like the vagus nerve motility kind of stuff. She thinks that they're great. And for her, she feels a noticeable difference when she does them. For me, I didn't notice anything until I got the spotting. But we're talking about our health history and our symptoms and our labs. And she is a person who has all the signs and symptoms and the lab testing for estrogen dominance. She has high levels of estrogen, a lot of breast swelling and tenderness around her cycle, like a lot of, fibrotic kind of tissue. Like she's got all of these symptoms of estrogen dominance, and she had hormone testing that showed estrogen dominance. I, on the other hand, don't have any signs or symptoms of estrogen dominance whatsoever. And if anything, when I did a hormone test about 4 years ago, I had slightly lower testosterone levels, but my estrogen and my progesterone were normal, like right dead in the middle of normal. And what I wrapped my head around was, I think that doing the coffee enemas detoxed too much of my estrogen, and I dumped out all my estrogen, and it tricked my body into thinking that it was time to get my period. And so I got this mid-cycle spotting because my estrogen and my hormones probably plummeted and they were detoxed too efficiently. And then my hormones freaked out and I thought I was getting a period, and I spotted for a couple of days, and then my body figured out what was going on. For my friend, when she gets rid of excess estrogen, she feels great. So over the years, she has tried different like DIM products, and she'll tell me all day, every day, she's like, DIM detox from, I think it's pure encapsulation. She's like, that's the best. Like, I feel so good when I take DIM detox. And so we know from historical data from years back that she feels really great when she helps facilitate the removal of excess estrogen. So of course it would stand to reason that if part of coffee enemas, part of what they do is detoxing excess estrogen, it would make sense that these are better suited for people who are estrogen dominant as opposed to people who are normal or low on their hormone levels. And I think that's what happened to me. I think that I freaked out my hormones. I got rid of them too rapidly. And then I tricked my body into thinking that it was time to have my period. And I had a couple days of spotting. Either way, it freaked me out royally. And because again, I've never had this happen. In 20 years of menstruation, I've never had mid-cycle spotting. And I immediately, that day, I was like, nope, I'm done. No more coffee enemas for me. So that is why I ended up discontinuing them. And I was kind of getting sick of doing them anyway. It is time consuming. It would take me like 20 minutes to prep everything, 20 minutes to get the coffee in and then retain it for 15 minutes, another 20 minutes to clean up everything. And it was kind of a hassle. So I didn't want to continue doing them. I was going to do them for another week or two for the sake of the YouTube video. But when I started getting mid-cycle spotting, I was like, nope, that's my body telling me to quit it, and I don't need this therapy. So to the person in the coffee enema support group who said that everybody should be doing these and that everybody needs to detoxify, I would beg to differ. I think that if you have normal levels of hormones, you might actually have too much of a good thing, and you might detoxify too much and get rid of all your hormones, and that could be a contraindication to coffee enemas, if I had to guess. Now again, this is an N=1 experiment, or an N=2 if you include my friend. There's no actual data to support this hypothesis, but that was my experience, and I'm glad that I did it so that I could make this series everything it was meant to be and really help people understand this therapeutic tool, because again, it can be helpful for people, but it's not for everybody. You don't need to do this necessarily. But if you think that you fit the profile of somebody who has some motility problems or maybe some constipation and excess estrogen, those are the situations where I might think about considering it after, of course, you have tried probiotics, prebiotics, nutritional support, and other measures. But if push comes to shove, you may wish to try coffee enemas because they can be therapeutic for some people. I hope that my experience teaches you something about coffee enemas or makes it feel like a more doable thing or less of a big deal. And I hope to see you in the next video. That's a wrap for the coffee enema series. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hey guys, if you like this video, be sure to subscribe, ring the bell, click the like button, and leave a comment down below with the videos that you would like to see me do next. Doing all of those really helps support the channel and support my efforts in making as many videos as possible for you guys. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video.